Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into something pretty fundamental, how we actually get things done. Specifically, this idea of goals versus systems.
Right. You sent over some really interesting material looking at this difference, setting a target versus building the habits, the processes that get you there.
Exactly. And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to figure out why focusing on those systems, those consistent actions, often seems way more effective for, well, long-term success than just having a big goal in mind.
Yeah, because we've all done it, haven't we? Set a goal, maybe a New Year's resolution.
Oh, definitely. Full of enthusiasm at the start.
And then, life gets in the way, motivation fades, and suddenly that big goal feels miles away. It's frustrating.
Super frustrating. So let's break it down. When we say goals and systems, what are we actually talking about? What's the core difference?
Well, a goal is pretty straightforward. It's that specific thing you want to achieve, right? The outcome. Run a marathon, finish a project, learn French.
Okay, the destination.
Exactly. The system, though, that's different. It's the set of regular actions, the habits, the process you follow consistently that moves you towards that goal.
So for the marathon goal, the system would be like the training schedule, running 3 times a week, doing strength training.
Precisely. It's the routine, the things you do day in, day out, or week in, week out that make the goal achievable. It's the reliable path forward.
Okay, and you mentioned motivation fading. How do systems help with that? Because that initial excitement, it definitely doesn't last forever.
Well, that's kind of the magic, isn't it? Systems, they almost automate progress. They take these huge, maybe intimidating goals.
Yeah, like write a book.
Right. And they break them down into small, manageable chunks. Daily actions. So maybe your system isn't write a book, it's write 500 words every morning.
Oh, okay.
And because it becomes a habit, a routine, you just do it. Even on days you don't really feel like it. The system carries you.
So it relies less on sheer willpower day to day.
Much less. The habit takes over. Now, what does the actual evidence say? Because the stuff you shared, it suggested this isn't just a nice idea. It actually leads to better results.
Yeah, the data seemed pretty strong. There was this quote you flagged from James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Yes. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Wow. Okay, say that again. You fall to the level of your systems.
It's powerful, isn't it? It really flips the common thinking on its head. We focus so much on the goal, the ambition.
Right, the shiny object.
But Clear argues it's the underlying structure, the system, that truly dictates your performance, especially when things get tough. It's what catches you.
That makes a lot of sense. And there was also an experiment mentioned, a fitness one.
Ah, yes, the 6-week fitness study. That was quite telling. You had one group just focused on a weight loss goal, I want to lose X pounds.
Okay.
And compared to, say, a control group, they actually showed less progress and, importantly, lower adherence. They stuck with it less.
Really? Just having the goal wasn't enough?
Apparently not. It suggests they knew the what lose weight, but they lacked the how. They didn't have that consistent, systematic approach to, say, diet and exercise locked in.
So the goal alone just hung there, without the engine to drive towards it.
Pretty much. It highlights that just wanting something isn't the same as having a concrete plan, a system to actually get there.
But, building systems, it sounds like work. It requires discipline, doesn't it? It's maybe not as exciting as just dreaming about the end result.
That's a really important point. It absolutely requires conscious effort, consistency. You have to prioritize the process. There's sometimes small, unglamorous daily actions over the big, shiny goal sometimes.
And goals feel more attainable sometimes, don't they? Like it's
Yeah.
a clear target. You can visualize it.
They do. There's a certain appeal to that clear endpoint. But ironically, the research suggests that goals without systems backing them up often turn out to be, well, pretty hard to actually reach. They become wishes more than plans.
So that initial feeling of attainability is a bit deceptive.
It can be, yeah. Long-term sustainable success seems to depend much more on having those effective systems running consistently. It's less about the final sprint and more about the steady pace.
Like the Toyota example in the sources. They obviously have goals for production and quality.
They're huge goals.
But their real advantage comes from the Toyota production system, right? That relentless focus on continuous improvement, cutting out waste. It's all process.
Exactly. It's baked into how they operate. They're constantly tweaking, refining, making small improvements within their system. And those small things, done consistently.
They add up.
They compound massively over time. It creates this incredible efficiency and quality that companies just focused on hitting quarterly numbers might miss entirely. They lack that engine for constant incremental betterment.
It's a different mindset. And when you think about strategies that rely only on goals,
Yeah.
the failure rate mentioned was kind of shocking.
Yeah, around 90%. That figure was astonishingly high.
90%, why so high?
Well, largely because of that lack of implementation, lack of consistent effort. The goal is set, but the system to execute on it day after day just isn't there, or it breaks down.
So you have the destination plugged into the GPS, but no fuel in the car.
That's a good way to put it. And conversely, the evidence keeps building that if you truly commit to a well-designed system, success becomes, well, maybe not guaranteed, but far, far more probable, almost inherent in the process.
So it really sounds like we need a shift in focus, less obsession with the destination
The goal?
and more focus on the journey, the process, the system itself.
Absolutely. It's about falling in love with the process, not just the prize. And, there are psychological reasons why we often prefer goals.
Like what?
Well, there's the immediate gratification thing. Goals offer a clear, often exciting future reward. Systems offer, well, often just the reward of doing the work today.
Which isn't always immediately thrilling.
Not always, no. And maybe there's a fear of failure tied to the effort systems require. It feels like more sustained commitment. Plus, maybe we just don't fully grasp how those small daily actions compound. It's not intuitive for everyone.
Right, the payoff feels distant, uncertain.
But here's the interesting part. Embracing systems actually helps overcome those hurdles. It builds patience because you see the incremental progress. You're not waiting for one big bang.
Okay.
It reduces the fear of failure, too, because you're constantly engaged, tweaking, learning within the system. It's not one big make or break moment. And you start to understand compounding because you live it.
So the system itself teaches you patience and resilience.
Exactly. It fosters this understanding that consistent effort builds momentum and leads to sustainable results. It gives you more control, ironically, than just focusing on the final outcome you can't directly dictate.
Okay, so boiling it all down then for you listening.
Yeah.
The big idea seems to be goals are important, absolutely. They tell you where you're
Give you
going.
direction, yeah.
But it's the systems, those habits, those routines, the processes you build, that's the engine. That's what actually drives the consistent progress and gets you there and keeps you there long term.
Couldn't have said it better. Goals are the map, systems are the vehicle, and the fuel continuously refilled.
All right. So here's something to think about. Pick an area in your life where you've maybe set goals but haven't quite hit them, maybe struggled a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, instead of just laser focusing on that end result again, ask yourself, what kind of system could I build? What regular actions, what daily or weekly process could I put in place to support that goal?
Yeah, shift the focus from the what to the how.
Exactly. Think about the journey, not just the destination.
Mm-hmm.
How might focusing on building that reliable engine, that consistent system, change things for you? It's definitely something worth exploring.